Welcome to the Business Growth Spotlight, where we shine the light and talk with business leaders from all over the world who are here sharing their expertise and wisdom so we can all grow together. I'm your host, Heidi Schalk, co-founder of HLH Growth Solutions, where we help businesses scale through outside the box visibility and automation strategies. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. So glad to have you here with us today. You're in for a real treat with my special guest in our conversation. Please stay to the end because I have a special gift just for you. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce my guest today, Chris White with the Clarity Business Academy. So welcome, Chris, to the podcast.
Hi, Heidi. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here and for taking time out of your day to spend with us. Chris, can you start us off telling us a little bit about yourself, about the Clarity Business Academy, and your role within it?
Sure. I think in a nutshell, it's easiest to say I'm a serial SaaS entrepreneur. I have built and sold several SaaS companies. About, I would say, 15 years ago, I started coaching other small entrepreneurial businesses. And I've been doing that now for about close to 16, 17 years now. I'm an author. I write books for small businesses, and I'm a storyteller. I'm a certified storyteller. And I help executives tell their story, whether it's their origin story for themselves or their business origin story, so that they can use that in their marketing and promotions. And lastly, I coach executives around the world one-on-one through the Clarity Business Academy. And so that brings what I do today. In my observations, 30 plus years of being an entrepreneur and being a coach, what I've really discovered is, companies don't lack ambition or vision. The problem is they lack true clarity. And when you think about clarity in a business, there's really three pillars that I think every business needs to think about. And the first pillar is their identity clarity. Who are you as an organization? Who are you as a leader? The second pillar is priority clarity. A lot of times businesses will get all caught up and we're going to do this in 10 years and they look so far out, they forget about what's important right now. So the clarity for priorities is what's important right now in the next 90 days. What should we be focused on? And then the third pillar is directional clarity. Where are we going and how are we going to get there? So if you take those three independent pillars and if you put them in a Venn diagram, the center is clarity and alignment for the executive team. Once they get clarity, they can then disseminate that clarity throughout their organization. So I spend a lot of my time working with owners and their leadership teams to bring that clarity into the organization through the CBA operating system.
Well, thank you for breaking down those pillars. I was actually going to ask you about those. So thank you for doing that and giving us clarity on what those are. I'm curious, what inspired you to build a business focused on helping entrepreneurs gain clarity in their lives and businesses?
So my parents were entrepreneurs. My grandfather was an entrepreneur as well. Unfortunately, I lost all of them when I was very young. So I really didn't have any mentors or guides. And I wanted to be a professional athlete in high school, but as I shared with you before we went on, that I got hit by a drunk driver when I was 18. So that kind of changed things for me. All I ever really wanted to be, Heidi, was a high school teacher and a coach. Like that, those were my ambitions. If I could stay in high school the rest of my life, that'd be great. And so life took me on a different path. And plus I realized how little teachers are paid. And I was like, how am I going to raise a family? I'm the eighth of 8 boys in my family. So
Oh, wow.
not that I was going to have 8, but when I saw the salary, I was like, boy, oh boy, how am I going to do this? I'm going to have 3 jobs. So an opportunity presented itself. I never set out to be an entrepreneur because, again, I watched my grandfather and my parents, and I thought way too much struggle, living paycheck to paycheck, not knowing if you're going to have a vacation this summer or not. And so I always thought, I'm just going to get a good job, good pay, and benefits and all that sort of stuff. And I ended up getting all that with Motorola. And I had a fantastic job as a salesman. I dealt with really big clients, Ford, Honda, GM, Harley Davidson, Miller Brewing Company, high profile accounts, and I was bored stiff. It I mean, I was a hunter, and closer, and then you're off to the next hunting. And
Mm,
so it just got boring for me. And I thought, oh man, I can't live in this cyclical world the rest of my life. It's just not challenging enough. So I started to look for opportunities, and I thought maybe I'll become an entrepreneur. And then an opportunity presented itself for a small SaaS company, and I became a partner. And the rest is history. I've built 6 companies since.
wow.
Yeah, it was a
You've been,
fun ride.
yeah, it sounds like one. You've been busy.
Yeah, yeah. And throughout all of that, I've made tons of observations of how business owners lead and manage their organizations. And I just realized they weren't lacking effort. They were just lacking clarity. And if they could all get on the same page with their commitments and have clarity around expectations, they scaled faster and they were under more control. They didn't
Mm,
lose control. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And so the first uh, the first book I wrote with a previous partner was called The Clarity Field Guide. And it's kind of most people don't like to journal, especially executives, right? Because it's intimidating. Stephen Pressfield, a great author that I truly admire, he told me one time, Chris, when people look at a blank piece of paper, that's like resistance staring back at them,
Mm,
like with a capital R, and you get frozen. And so I thought about that. I'm like, well, I'm going to help executives get unfrozen. So I created a little book that has 4 seasons, like a farmer, because that's what my parents started out as, were farmers. They were dairy farmers. And so as entrepreneurs, you and I both know, we go through seasons. And so I did little prompts like to see what season you're in and then answer one question with a motivational quote. So you don't have to be Hemingway. You can just write a couple bullets, but the act of writing it from your brain down your arm, out your wrists and fingers to a utensil onto whatever electronic or paper, you're going to retain it and you're going to reflect on it at a deeper level. And so I got that book going and it was a smash. And that's when I decided to write a series. So the Clarity Playbook, Clarity Isn't the Feeling, It's a Strategy, just released in Amazon 2 weeks ago.
congratulations.
Um, Thank you. Yeah. And then 2 more in queue. It'll be the Clarity Manager and then it'll be the Clarity Employee. And they all tie together. So the idea is for the executives to provide that absolute clarity throughout the organization. Because the deeper you go, if you ask someone what's the mission, they're like, I'm not really sure. What are
Yeah.
your company's core values? I don't know. So I like to help in those situations and bring these tools in that provide that clarity that the executives go through. And now they've got a platform that they can share with everybody. So now everybody in the organization understands what we're all trying to do and trying to accomplish.
Fantastic. So, Chris, thank you for sharing your books. And we're going to find out more on you. You said the one just came out 2 weeks ago, and it's on Amazon, right? And that's the Clarity
Yeah,
Playbook.
yeah.
When are the other two slated to come out? Do you have a
Oh
timeline?
boy, I knew I shouldn't have said that.
Now I'm itching for it, Chris. I'm like
I'm
waiting for
a
it.
I'm a I'm a self-publisher, so I'm not under the gun.
Okay,
Um,
well, you just reach out to me when they're ready,
yeah,
and then we will help promote them for you.
I'm
Absolutely.
hoping Q4 for the next book, and
Oh, it's
then
quick.
maybe Q1 or Q2 for the last book in the series.
Okay, so that's a good timeline. That's a good
Yeah,
turn. Okay, fantastic. So many entrepreneurs spend a lot of time focused on tactics and strategy. Why do you believe identity is the foundation for sustainable business growth?
that's a great question. First and foremost, every organization is like a living organism, right? And we really want to be able to identify who we are, like culturally speaking, like what are our guiding principles at our organization? What are our values? Because those are how we're going to live, eat, and breathe inside the walls of the organization. It's how we present ourselves forward facing, to our clients. to our vendors. Culture is very important. You know, on most Sunday nights, a lot of employees aren't necessarily saying, "Oh, I can't wait to go to work tomorrow," right? But imagine if we could. Imagine if we could build a culture inside of an organization that people were excited to be a part of. And the only way to do that is to give them clarity, is to include them in what it is we're trying to do, whether corporately or departmentally or individually, right? What's my role clarity, right? What's my expectation clarity between manager and managee, right? So I think the identity clarity, it starts there. We need to know who we are as an organization, what we stand for. And then it goes to our individual leadership skills, right? Like you can see my bookshelf. That's an actual bookshelf behind me. It's real. And I read them all. I love to read. But, and there's a lot of leadership books, right? And they're generally, one person's reflection on their career and what they learned. The one book that I absolutely love is by a gentleman named Tim Spiker. And he wrote a book called The Only Leaders Worth Following. The reason I like that book is it's based on 5 years of research. And he discovered that the leaders that are truly worth following have two attributes. They're inwardly sound and there's others focused. So inwardly sound, one of the definitions is they're self-aware and holistically healthy. And then others focused is they're focused on their direct reports. They're focused on their people in the organization. And that brings clarity when a leader can get clear on who they are and what their identity is as a leader, and if they can demonstrate those positive characteristics, people will mirror
Yeah.
and they'll kind of absorb that. And that leads to, now, not 100% of the time, I'm realistic. I've built a lot of companies, but if we can get 90% strong in our culture, how great would that be? We're not going to chase perfection, but we're certainly going to try and build an atmosphere where people want to come to work, want to participate, they enjoy their job, they're challenged, and they have a pathway to grow. And that all takes clarity.
Yeah. And excitement on a Sunday that they get to go to work the next day.
Yeah,
I love that. So, Chris, we've all heard that grit and perseverance are essential for success. And you shared with me privately behind the scenes your journey and your story of in the grit that you've been through and you created in your life and what's moved you through to where you are now. And you talked about what happens when grit runs out. What does that mean? And
yeah.
how can business owners recognize when they're relying on willpower instead of clarity?
Mm. Yeah, that we could go deep on this one. I've got a lot of experience here, personal experience, but let's start with, so the way that I define grit, Heidi, is the ability to get back up and keep moving through adversity. Whatever that is, physical, mental, it's just my parents started out as farmers and they're eight boys and I'm the eighth. And it was, if you fell down, you pull yourself up by your bootstraps and you get back out there on the field. And it was taught by my parents and certainly my coaches and certainly by my brothers for a lot of years, at least till I was about 15, and I actually grew. But grit is, I thought grit really meant just getting back up and pushing through. Like I shared some of the adversity, the health challenges that I've had. And that's what I did for 40 years. But I hit a ceiling. Grit has a ceiling. And you have to be able to recognize that. Now, I can't say that I fully recognize it. It was with the help of my wife because she said something to me one day and she said, and I won't get this exactly, but she said something to the effect like, I think you've hit the ceiling of grit.
Mhm.
And maybe it's not about pushing harder anymore. Maybe it's something else. And that struck me. because I kind of spent a lifetime since I was 18 just pushing through these physical derailments that I've gone through with the accidents and whatnot. What I ended up realizing was grit helps you survive an impact, but it's grace, humility, and I believe spiritual belief that takes you through it. So I'm a Catholic. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus Christ, and I never leaned on all of that when I was younger. I was young and strong. I'm going to bowl through this like a typical Irishman. But I'm 61 now. My body's taken score on all of those things, and it's adding up now. So grit is is necessary, but just know that there is a ceiling to grit, and it's going to come down to the people you're surrounded with who hold you up, how you hold yourself up, being realistic with your limitations, being open and honest with yourself. Like, I'm not traveling anywhere near. Like I used to travel internationally for speaking, and with all the things I've been through, I can't do that anymore. So I do this a lot more and work virtually. And that that was just something I had to accept. Like no grit was going to get me through that. It's just I had to accept it. And so I think when I came to that conclusion, like, hey, grit served a purpose. I mean, look, grit matters, right? It matters in business, it matters in life, it matters in relationships, but grit definitely has a ceiling. And when you hit that ceiling, you have to realize that you have to accept that, accept the reality, but then lean heavier. Uh, it- Look, grit gave me humility. Everything that I've gone through, it has absolutely taught me humility and that I'm not as self-resilient as I thought I was. I need support, right? I can't just be on as, Han Solo all the time and trying to be that solopreneur and do it all
Yeah.
myself. But yeah, grit has taught me a lot of lessons throughout the years, and I share all those with my clients. I actually have a TED Talk about grit, the power of grit, called Still Standing. I may turn it into a short book one day to share with others because, especially us men, right? We're taught, like especially my age bracket, we're taught to persevere and don't show emotions, no vulnerability, and stay strong. And that's fine and dandy to a point, but for me personally, my real breakthrough was when I became vulnerable, when I
Mm.
accepted that grit was no longer the way, and that ended up in growth.
Yeah.
So that's a smattering of my grit story.
No, it's beautiful. And thank you for sharing that. And it's part of you stepping out of your comfort zone, which for many of us, if men, like you were talking into, lone wolfing has been what you've been raised and taught to do all your life. You're the protector, you're the provider, you're the one that no
Right.
matter what happens, you've got to, stand there and not show emotion, not show vulnerability. Vulnerability is a sign of weakness. And I
Right.
think in the last in over the years, we're learning and we're seeing that vulnerability is a sign of strength. And for men, it can be really open a lot of doors in a lot of
Absolutely.
communication, both in business and in relationships. Thank you for sharing that and sharing, your story and your take on it. Can you share a story? You don't have to share a specific client or company that you worked with, but can you share a story of a client who came to you feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or unclear about their next step, and what changed after working through your process?
Yeah. Well, those are the only clients I work with. So there's, business owners deal with 136 issues every day. There's just no avoiding the onslaught of activity, right? So they got to get really good at prioritization on that. But, you know, I have a lot of clients come to me that are really feeling stuck and frustrated in their business. It could be sales are flat. It could be profitability isn't what it used to be. It could be manufacturing processes are broken, we're leaking cash. It could be the wrong people in the wrong seats,
Mm.
right? That are chipping away at their culture. So Like I said, they deal with so many issues, and what they need is a system. They need a framework, right? So if we go back to my clarity pillars, it kind of starts there, and I have specific tools. So let's take, for example, like identity. We'll talk about the identity of the company. Clients come to me all the time, and they're like, "Chris, we've never formalized like business plan for the company. We have a business plan for the bank where we got our money, but we really don't have anything like formalized or archived for our employees." And I'm like, okay, well that's important. We should talk about that. So what I help clients build is like a roadmap, right? And they have to, through the curriculum with their other leaders, they got to discover their core values, uh, their core focus, and then we break it down. I like Jim Collins' BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal. And you can put it out 10 years. Some of my clients go 5, some go 7, but Collins has 10. Then we break it down to a 3, then we break it down to a 1, and then we break the 1 year into quarterlies. And those quarterlies are called quarterly priorities. Stephen Covey, I think, called them rocks. But they're the most important priorities for the quarter. So that moves us from the identity into the priority pillar. And then that moves us to the direction. And the direction pillar is your complete business roadmap that defines all the things you're working on from the 10 year, the 3 year to the 1 year. So now you actually have something physical you can share with the organization in all three of those pillars. Now everyone in the company can have a general overall understanding of who we are,
Hmm.
what our priorities are, and what the long range goal is of the organization. So just getting them to start there that's like the starting point. And then we move deeper into the tools that help them strengthen those three pillars so that they never fail.
Got it. So I'm curious, how are the clients that you're working with? You just shared success story and how you move through people through your process. How do they find you? How do they know that you exist? Like, who are your ideal clients? So for those listening, are like, I might need to reach out to Chris. Who are the
Yeah,
businesses that you work with specifically? And also, how do they find you? What do you do to make sure that you're seen and you're visible?
yeah. So I have a wide variety of businesses in my portfolio. The smallest client that I've worked with did $1 million in revenue. I've had multiple clients in the $1 billion revenue range and everything in between across all different kinds of markets, from the auto industry to the medical to manufacturing to franchising. I've been at this a long time, so I've got a pretty good
Yeah.
smattering. But today, I work with the small to medium-sized founder-led organizations who are feeling a bit frustrated and they want to kind of get their arms around their business. They don't feel quite in control. There's some owners that want to transition out of running the day to day and be freed up to maybe pursue some other passions or to be sort of the brand ambassador for the company and go to conferences around the world, right? They don't want to do the day-to-day activity anymore. And I can help companies like that because why? It takes clarity and structure wrapped up in a framework of tools that that owner, once they're implemented, can take a month off and they can just check on the Clarity Business Academy app on their phone and they can see where their team's at any given time, daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually. And who wouldn't want that, right? A lot of owners want to get to that sort of visionary level in their organization. But I primarily work, with that 2 to 50 million founder-led organization who's feeling stuck or frustrated. They want to scale, they're not done growing. They also need leadership training because they've never had any formal, executive leadership training, which I include in mine. And then I also do one-on-one coaching. So that's a different, so I do team coaching and then I do one-on-one coaching. How people find me, believe it or not, at this stage of my career, I'm 100% referral based. However, I'm a technologist. I love technology. So I use the social media platforms to promote. I like to write. So I just posted on LinkedIn, I got a 5-part series on grit on LinkedIn. So my first post just went out. What's today? Tuesday. So my first post went out Saturday morning, and the next one will go the next Saturday morning. And that goes a little deeper on my personal health story and the
Mm.
challenges that I dealt with. But I work with clients like that too. Like I have owners that are like Chris. I got diagnosed with. Obviously, I won't name names, but I have a current client right now who's diagnosed with a disease, and that means he's got to step out of the company and take care of himself because he's going to be undergoing treatments and he will not be able to attend, the day-to-day or weekly or quarterly meetings. And but he's not worried at all. They've been working with me for over 12 years. They have all the systems and processes in place. They're a very well-oiled machine and they don't let communication fail. That's another big problem, right? When the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. So he's got, he came to me a long time ago and now he's like, I'm not worried, Chris. I got right people, right seats. They keep me informed so I can focus on, what I got to focus on for the next 5 months. And he said, thank you. And I just was like, you're welcome. That's the biggest, that's how I define success. Like
Yeah.
getting a client to that level where they have that trust in their people that they can leave, that's an amazing feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. And what people want to do, not for over sickness, but they want to be able to to enjoy what they've created, the fruits of
Right.
that by going on vacation and doing some fun things in our life. And many, founders find themselves that they can't do that because if they leave, they don't have the support around them or they haven't built that strong
Right.
enough yet to allow that to happen. So I'm sad to hear that he has to step away for medical reasons. But thank goodness he has that team support behind him to be able to do that and take care of himself and knows that his business is in good hands. And then working with you for 12 years set him up for that success. And that's kudos to you that you've had a client working with you for 12 years. It says a lot about your service and your success and the results that you get for them.
Yeah, I only have a handful of clients, but I work with them, for deeper into their organization for a longer period of time so that we can have that impact. And it's
Yeah.
funny because like I'll put my name on their issues list and then we'll get, in this session we'll get to the issues. They're like, why is your name on there? And I'm like, guys, do you really need me? Like, I'm an issue. Do you need me? And I remember I have a client in Boston. They're growing through acquisitions, and the owner, he just great guy, wonderful guy. He just said, Chris, will you stop putting your name on the issues list? I'm never going to run these meetings. Nobody in this room is ever going to run these meetings. We want to be students.
Mm,
We don't want to have double duty. We get enough of that. The rest, this is 4 times a year we get to hang out with you, where we get to take off the hats that we wear and kind of rise above the company and act like a board of directors. And I'm like, yeah, but I might have said 50 words today. They're like, that's okay. That one sentence got us over the mountain, and
right.
that's what we pay you for. And I'm like, okay, as long as I'm bringing value, because I don't want to create dependency, right?
Right.
That's the last thing I want to do.
Right.
But yeah, my clients, they're long term, and we go deep into the organization. We train multiple levels of managers and directors so that they're all speaking one same common language.
So before you have the referral gift of most of your clients come from referrals, what did you do marketing and visibility wise to put yourself out there? I know you do social media now. Was it social media reliant? Did you do any paid forms? Were you out there doing networking events? Like what were the different things that worked for you in order to get yourself to where you can now have that flexibility of those, or I don't know how to say this best, like the people would feel it like lucky to have these to live on referrals,
Sure.
because a lot of
Yeah.
companies hope to get to that one day, and you're
Yeah.
there. So how did you get there?
Yeah. Well, it's a grind. You can't avoid the suck. You have to embrace the suck because you got to go through the valley before you can ever climb to the peak. So you got to get really good at BD. You got to get really good at closing, right? Well, now I'm professionally trained from Motorola prior to starting my first software company. So I had the basic skill sets and I had a very successful career there too. So coming into this world, um, I'm not a trained speaker. I'm just an Irishman with the gift of gab, and I can spin a yarn. I feel comfortable in groups of, talking, in groups of people. But I started small, speaking. Back when I started all this, the internet was coming out. There's no social media to the level that it's at right now. I mean, if you got a website that legitimized you, but the way that I built my practice and the way that I coach a dozen other coaches from other platforms, I coach them as well. And what I teach them is you got to own your backyard. So get out there and do some, and with AI now, the research is infinitesimally faster than it ever was when I was trying to do research, right? I mean, for crying out loud, I'm really going to age myself if I say I opened the yellow pages. But build a list of where entrepreneurs hang out. Well, where do entrepreneurs hang out? They hang out at peer groups like YPO or EO or Vistage. And I would solicit them with a speaker flyer of a topic that I would speak on, and then I'd speak for free, which they all love that. And so in my first year, I put 48,000 miles on my truck. I live in Central Florida, but I drove to the Panhandle, Jacksonville, all the way down the coast to Miami, up around, and all the way back up to Tampa. So my first year, I spoke all across the state, and that's how I got people to know who I was.
Incredible. You did the legwork.
A lot of legwork, and it was old school. There's
Boots on the
like
ground.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm like OG. It's old school. I just, I like to get out there. We can't, AI is beautiful and wonderful it is as it is. It's not going to replace human connection, right?
Right.
And that's, we got to protect that. But I coach all my people like, listen, you're not going to build it from sitting behind your computer. You got to get out there and, rub elbows with other entrepreneurs and maybe you can get a speaking gig or a workshop to promote yourself. Fast forward, yeah, sure, I've got I post weekly on social media and I write books now that help to build my own community. But yeah, in the beginning, it was old school. Get out there and try to fill a room and talk to them for about 90 minutes, and hopefully you walk out with a handful of leads. And luckily, that's how it worked out for me.
Incredible. So you brought up AI a couple times, Chris. So I want to dive into that a little bit because it's here. It's not going anywhere. We all know that.
Right?
It's here to stay and it's evolving pretty quickly. So AI is creating both incredible opportunities and endless distractions for many business owners. So how do you think entrepreneurs and founders can use AI effectively without losing focus on what truly matters?
Yeah. I think first and foremost, you can't ignore AI. If you're a business owner and you are, you're going to get steamrolled one way or another. Something will be affected. Now, are we going to take away electricians and plumbers and like tradesmen and stuff like that? Maybe not yet, but they're building thousands upon tens of thousands of robots right now. China, Elon, it's part of our labor force is going to be that in the future someday. So I tell them, look, embrace it and get educated about it first. Then ask yourself, is it applicable in my business anywhere? So I always encourage my teams to build an AI task force. If you're not using AI or you're dabbling, get a team of people from different departments, create an AI task force, do the research, and then come back with a like a debrief. Where can it help us? Where can it hurt us? And what are next action steps? It's awesome for writing SOPs, right? Even legal documents now, all kind of adoption documents. I mean, you literally can get your hands on all of that stuff, but it still takes a human to create it, right? And so I am a technologist. I embrace AI. It's already smarter than the top 100 smartest people in the world by 10x or more. So the cat's out of the proverbial bag, right? So as business owners, I think they have to have an AI strategic plan. And I encourage them to do that research and come back to it. And then, so I have other apps and my AI consultant has been in AI for over 15 years. I mean, you and I weren't even talking about it like we're talking
Right.
about it right now, 15 years ago.
No.
But in his type of business, which was software, he was in on all of that stuff. So, look at GPS. That only used to be for fighter planes, and everything's got GPS now. So, look at cars. They're driving themselves now. Planes have been landing themselves for decades. That's computer software. It takes people to do all that, but I'm generally encouraged by it, and there'll always be people using it for nefarious reasons. So hopefully we'll come up with some way to control that. But there's always hackers out there. But I'm an optimist. I'm an eternal optimist. I'm not naive. I know that people will do bad things, but that's not where my head and heart are. I'm here to serve the small to medium business owner because they represent 2/3 of job creation
Yeah.
in our country. So, if AI can help them, give them a competitive advantage, I'm all for it. I'm a capitalist. Like, let's go.
Let's go. Let's go. So I'm curious for you, you help teams and you help founders and you help like this gentleman you said who's, needing to step away to take care of himself. For your business and your growth, what does your internal team look like? Have you built a team around you to support you? I know you talked about the lone wolfing earlier, so what it looks like for you.
Yeah, I definitely have people around me, and they're all fractional and AI. So I've created my own internal AI bots to handle some manual data input output automation. But I really have a small team of people, and let's see, they're in Switzerland, London.
Very nice. Very
Yeah.
nice. Yeah. I'm curious. So, if we could bring you back in a year and we could talk about from where you are now to where you are then, what would success look like for you? What does growth look like for you in the next 12 months?
I think in a couple areas. One is I've created a platform for business coaches. So when I was coming up, and still true today, business coaches, they if they want to start their business, they got to go get HubSpot, they got to go get Monday.com, all these external resources in order to build their model. And every one of those is a monthly membership, and their expenses just keep going up. So what I've created is a singular hub that everything's inside that hub. So you can manage your clients, manage your pipeline. It's got built-in CRM and it's got behind the scenes AI signaling so you can do biz dev. You literally can just type in your zip code, type in the type of business you want to target. Maybe you want to target dental in a 100-mile radius. And my software will bring up all 100 of those. It'll rank them against my business if they're a good fit or not based on 0 to 100. And if they're 80 or above, they're a good fit. And that's a lead that I should reach out to. So it's pretty ingenious, but that's an example where I no longer need an agency,
Right.
right? But I'm a little, with you can, now there's vibe coding, right? Lovable .com. You become a AI prompt engineer. So you don't have to be a programmer. You literally just give it your thoughts and then it'll start to develop it to a point. That we still need software engineers, trust me. But that's flexibility and it allows you to move faster to meet your clients' needs. So I'm always trying to be on the forefront of that. So like if I get a year later and I look back, how many companies did I help? How many executives, these are kind of my KPIs, right? Like how many companies did I help? How many executives did I help? Just the other day, it was really cool. A guy in Texas sent me a picture. He was poolside and he sent me a picture reading my book.
Oh, that's amazing.
And he says, in the first chapter, it like my mind exploded. I had to put the book down. He goes, I wrote out a whole, he goes, I re-identified, how did he say it to me? He goes, I rethought this is the founder, my personal identity inside our company. He goes, I rewrote my personal identity and then I rewrote the company identity. Then he called his partner. This is happening on a Sunday. And he just texted to me. So, that made me feel really good, unexpected. So, I would like to hope that my book series does well and makes an impact on this target market that I'm focused on.
Absolutely. And I'm excited to help you support you in promoting it. So one last question for you is if I could give you a magic wand, Chris, and you can wave it over one issue or challenge that you're having right now, and you can go poof and it disappears, what would that be and why?
Is this a personal or a professional?
It could be both.
Well, I think professionally is awareness of clarity. Like that's what I'm really focused on. You know, I know I live in the Orlando area, but I really don't think there's a magic wand or pixie dust that I can put on a company and just say, poof, you're awesome. Because it takes time,
Right.
You remember you got to kind of go through the valley and embrace the suck before you can climb to the peak. But I think for me personally is, certainly getting my health back in order. I've been down for 5 years, but that's coming back. Hopefully, the second book will be completed. The problem is I got too long of a list. I can't. It's hard to get to the one thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's tell people how they can connect with you because I'm sure businesses are listening and going, I need to learn more about or chat with this incredible human.
Mhm.
So how can people connect with you and find you?
Sure. Chris White on LinkedIn, Chris White from the Clarity Business Academy. You can go to the clarityplaybook.io, and that's the website, a little bit more about me and the book that I'm writing. Yeah, and then I think I have a Facebook page. So talking about who does what in my company, my wife, who was a successful business owner in her own right, she is the head of marketing and social media and all that. So
Uh-huh.
I know that I have a Facebook page. I'm pretty sure it's just Chris White. I like to build content and then I send everything over to her.
Yeah, I hear you. That's the ideal, right?
Yeah, I like to get my little work done and then I delegate it and then I can go to the next one and because if you start putting me into scheduling and all that, I'll screw the whole thing up.
Well, it sounds like you have your team aligned with exactly what's right for them.
Yeah,
Yeah, which is
yeah,
important. So yes, you can go to coachchris.io and then you can go grab the book at clarityplaybook.io, correct?
correct.
Okay, awesome. And we'll have all of Chris's links and show notes inside the show notes. So if you're watching us on YouTube right now, Chris and I say hello and thank you. We're grateful you're here. Please, if you know of anybody that would benefit from this conversation and about learning more about Chris, And obviously getting the book, I think that's important because somebody just had an aha moment just from reading the first chapter. Sounds like we all need this book. So go ahead and please share this with someone that you know that would benefit from learning more about Chris, about the Clarity, the Clarity Playbook, and also about Chris's company and his services. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, thank you. If you're inclined to leave a review, we would love 5 stars, preferably, and that helps the podcast platform push this episode out to more people, so more people can learn about Chris, about the Clarity Playbook, and about his services. Chris, please, before I let you go, is there anything that you'd like to share or say that I didn't ask you or we didn't talk about today?
Here's, I guess I'll leave you with this.
Okay.
It's short and sweet. Clarity isn't a feeling, it's a strategy. Finding identity, priorities, and direction in leadership. That's what I would, again, it's all captured in the book. But yeah, that's it's not a feeling. You can use clarity as a strategy for yourself and for your business, and it just results in alignment. And when you have alignment, that gets everybody rowing in the same direction.
Mm.
And that's a well-oiled machine.
Absolutely. We want everybody rowing in the same direction. I love that analogy. And I think that's a great, like a little mic drop about clarity, because people think about clarity as like, oh, yeah, I'm clear. But it's something that we might do, really not that important. But it is. Clarity will
Yeah.
change everything. It also allows your entire team to get on board with your vision and you mentioned earlier, the words are slipping my mind now, but core values. Core
Yeah.
values is not something a lot of businesses talk about, but it's really, really important that when you're bringing on team and you're adding the team, you're not going to be able to leave on vacation. You're not going to be able to leave and handle medical issues that you need to do to take care of yourself or your loved ones if your team isn't aligned with your vision, your mission, and your core values. And that's all
Yeah.
important. And it starts with you as the founder, as the CEO, as the visionary, to really getting clear on what that looks like, because you want people who are on board and driven by the
Yeah.
vision that you are, and that comes with clarity. So grab that Clarity Playbook. I know I'm grabbing mine. I can't wait to read it. Chris, thank you for being here. Thank you for
Thank
sharing
you.
your journey and your story. And it's been such an honor and privilege to sit here with you today. I've really enjoyed our conversation. You've given me some clarity and made me realize that I have some work to do with clarity inside of my business, both personally and professionally. So thank you for your time today. Thank you all for being here. Go get that Clarity Playbook and share this episode. Let people know Chris is available. He's around. He's here. What he can do to support them in the growth of their business. I look forward to seeing you all on the next episode of the Business Growth Spotlights.